Let me know when you guys are ready. You're good, Ward?
Almost there.
Okay, yeah, take your time.
I guess I do still have to take a look.
It's good, yeah, me too. I have a ton of questions. Oh. Okay, got it. Good?
Yes.
All right, anybody want to start off?
Clarifying questions?
Yeah,
or-
so let's open up with clarifying questions and to make sure we have a surface level understanding.
Yeah,
of the
well,
text.
I was really stuck on lines, I numbered the lines, so I was stuck on lines 17 through 19. The line says the most tolerable sort of revenge is for those wrongs which there is no law to remedy. But then and it's this next part, but then let a man take heed, the revenge be such as there is no law to punish. Else a man's enemy is still beforehand, and it is 2 for 1. I just was really struggled with that line. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I just figured it out, which is he's saying, I don't know if you guys had the same thing, but it was basically saying, if there's no law for what's been done to you, then be careful what you do in return, that you to yourself don't come under the hand of the law, so that your injury to yourself is twice. That you get injured by the person, then you also get in trouble with the law for what you do.
Yeah, and what I love about this is Bacon, he anticipated a question I had, because he first off starts saying, hey, if you're wrong, don't wrong someone else, don't take revenge, let the law do that, that's the law's job. And so then my immediate question is, well, what if you live in a lawless land and there is no law? Because there's plenty of places in this world that there
What
are
are you
no law.
thinking of?
What do you do? I'm thinking of like war-torn countries, right?
Yeah.
And then he gives you the answer, which is like, even if there is no law to remedy it, be careful, because and that's the most understandable way, like reason to take justice is there is no law, but still it's going to come back and bite you.
Yeah.
So that this is a person who knows how to argue well.
He seems to come back to this idea at the end, because he does sort of qualify his claim that revenge, if it does anything, it just self-inflicts your wounds.
Yes.
But there is a purpose for revenge, which is to uphold sort of law and
Yes.
crowd control in society. So he says this, public revenges are for the most part fortunate, as that for the death of Caesar, for the death of Pertinax, for the death of Henry III of France. So I assume that these were public hangings or executions.
Public executions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he says, there's the line on 32, it says, this is certain that a man that studieth revenge keeps his own wounds green. So he's really coming back to the idea that revenge just injures, you're just hurting yourself. And then he goes at the very last line, vindictive persons live the lives of witches, is saying again the same thing, that it's kind of like,
Well, that was my clarification. I don't get the word fortunate. Why is he saying that of all the revenges, this is the fortunate one?
Yeah, same question. It's the public revenge, and then what the difference between that was, and the difference between private revenges. Right? Is that kind of along the same line?
I think what it is the idea that a public revenge is everybody is decided together that it's that's
We're
kind
gonna
of
kill
like
this guy.
a good, like they're like, okay, we all decide and we're all taking part in it. So individual grudges that happen are kind
so
of
it's
like
the group versus the
So
individual.
like a literal public revenge
Yeah.
on that person.
Yeah. I mean, because you think about the only one that I know a lot about is Caesar, but it was all it was like a bunch of different people all stabbed him at the same time so that they took
Got it.
responsibility together.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, I was thinking about this thing when he says, it's in line 6, he says it's a prince's part to pardon.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, like he's saying that, it seems like he's saying that individuals don't really have the common sense to decide what is a right amount of revenge to take for something. Like people shouldn't trust themselves, and that, only the wisest people should decide it, which I think he's given to princes in the law.
And the Bible.
And the Bible.
He's right, but this text is rife with allusions to Solomon and Job. And so that, I think he's arguing that revenge are sort of, if you seek that out, you're revealing a personal weakness in yourself.
Ooh.
And so we have to appeal to history and these greater biblical allusions in order to sort of remind us or keep us in check in a way.
So he's drawing on these resources that we have available to us to kind of learn how to avoid revenge or turn the other cheek.
To turn the other cheek, yeah. So I think I maybe had written that or some other common phrase. Human transgressions are an inward act of weaknesses. And that whenever anyone acts in revenge, it's not really against anyone, but it is out of selfish impulses that we haven't been able to control. So I think that's in the lines, starting from 12. So to purchase himself profit, pleasure, honor, and the like.
But there he's talking about the person who inflicts the first injury, right?
Right.
Because this is kind of a weird part where he says that no man does wrong for wrong's sake. So he's saying it's going
Not
back
true,
to,
actually, but
I
yes.
think that's what I read. I don't know.
The Joker.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an interesting idea of is there inherent evil? Are people, because this is going back to the same time when they were kind of debating, is man evil by nature, or is that just a product of society?
He says that in the next line, and if any man should do wrong merely out of ill nature, I don't know if it's too close, but so you don't expect much more of these kinds of people.
Yeah.
You don't expect them to be better or to do better.
And then, so before that, on line 13, it says, therefore, why should I be angry with any man for loving himself better than me? I think that was kind of what he was saying, why, we're kind of all looking out for ourselves, why should I be mad at someone else for doing the same thing I would have done in that case?
Yeah, I mean, what he's giving you is the criteria to forgive people.
Yeah.
So how am I supposed to turn the other cheek? Well, remember, this person can't help themselves, or they chose themselves over you, and that's sort of human nature. So keep those two things in mind.
And to not do that is to be superior.
Yeah.
And to
Well,
it feels good to be superior.
Yeah. The thing though about superiority, there's this thing kind of reeks of this is somebody in power who's if somebody does something bad to you, you just take it, it's fine, be the bigger man. But then you think about, if you're a serf in Europe,
You're not reading this, but okay.
You're not reading this, of course, but it's
These ideas are not for you.
These ideas are not.
Till the land.
Yeah.
But
I see what you're saying.
Well, but then it filters down to Christianity, which is the idea of the meek shall inherit the earth, and don't your reward. Don't listen. Your reward is in the afterlife. Don't go against the system. Don't go against the system now. That's what it sounds like he's talking. Because he probably was a landowner. He probably was justifying. He probably did terrible things to the people that worked for him that had no power against him.
But if you are to take his measure, he's saying a just society is one that has very little revenge, and I think that is one criteria. Third level question, you could just look at our own society, right, and figure out all the revenge that's taking place on a daily basis and how just we are.
I think the flip side of that, though, is if you look at certain kind of revenges that were done because the law wasn't just, right? Is that still wrong? I can't remember.
Francis Bacon would say yes.
Yes, but as a society, do we agree with that?
I mean, what about Nat Turner's Rebellion? I'm always going to be that's the right thing to do.
And I'm also thinking about, and I can't remember her name, but the woman who she killed. I can't remember who it was, but she killed somebody because of they were trying to assault her essentially, or rape, so she killed the guy.
Right.
And then they took her to jail.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess that would be
But
different if
she
did it
still
happen
killed
in the
someone.
moment.
Yeah, but it was in the moment. It was this thing how or defending yourself.
Doesn't feel like revenge.
That doesn't feel like that feels like survival.
There's more to the story, but I can't like get it all out right now. Yeah, but
Well, and the nocturnal thing to me is like, that's survival. I mean, slavery is inherently wrong. That's not revenge. Revenge is like anyway.
Give an example.
Yeah, well, I don't know. He doesn't give you many examples from
you have
wrongs.
to define revenge.
We have to define it better. He does not define revenge very
Yeah.
well. He just says it's a wrong, and then you do a wrong.
Yeah.
Well, wild justice.
Yeah.
Sort of, defining the parameters of what's acceptable within the bounds of law, and that revenge is sort of going with this understanding that, public revenges are set an example or to uphold a particular law. And that, the part here around line 20, personal revenges or like light revenge between friends is acceptable? Is that what, did I understand that correctly?
The
I
whole
got it
thing
more
about
confusing,
the,
yeah.
the
For the-
thing with the friends is really confusing to me, what he's really trying to get at.
This is line 20.
Yeah, so some, when they take revenge, are desirous, the parties should know whence it cometh.
I think it's
Is
more
there-
down in 25.
25.
So like, had a desperate saying against perfidious and neglecting friends as if those wrongs were unpardonable.
Yeah, you shall read, saith he, that we are commanded to forgive our enemies. Oh yeah, but you never read that we are commanded to forgive our friends.
Mhm.
What is he talking about there?
Well, I mean, right there, he's saying, Jesus said, "Love your enemy," which was sort of a radical philosophy. And Jesus was not saying you shouldn't love your friends or forgive your friends too, but that is the implication or inference is here. The Francis Bacon says, no, you should forgive or condone both your enemy and your friend. So if your friend commits a wrong to you, you have to forgive them as well. You're commanded to forgive your friend. I mean, Job says, right, don't.
I was wondering that. Is it like if you can learn to forgive your friends, then you'll be able to learn to forgive anybody, or maybe you're hurting yourself? Again, he's going back to the idea of you're hurting yourself by cutting friendships short. By, if any of your friends do something that upsets you, then you instantly cut them out. And maybe he's saying that's, look at the way you're hurting yourself with that.
Right.
Yeah. Any closing ideas?
Do you know why he wrote this, or like what the purpose was before?
I want to know the historical
Context?
context.
Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, like who his audience is, or
Somebody doing bad, doing dirty.
is someone doing? Yeah, right.
I write
This
a
is
letter.
like a Mean Girls thing that he wrote.
They're like, you need to take revenge. And he was like, no, I don't want to fight them.
I'll write
Here's
an
why.
essay
I'll write an
instead.
essay instead. Yeah, what a nerd move. I mean, I think it feels like a point in time, like we'll never know what this point in time was like, but when really governments and these organizing bodies were coming together, where this civilization was.
So he's looking for principles and.
Yeah, I mean, when, it's just like, what would the law have been at that time? There had been like a sheriff who was overseeing a huge part of package of land. I don't know what you would have called it back then, but.
So you read condescension into this, is the way you read it.
No, I wouldn't say condescension. I think maybe he's just trying to figure it out,
Okay.
It's like, I think this is a call to organizing principles. This is a call to government. This is a
Okay.
call to strengthen it's a call for a stronger centralized government where, all disputes are taken care of by the law and not by individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't set up the individual to be particularly powerful or full of agency in knowing the right decision or the right actions to take, especially in conflict or when their truer natures are challenged.
Mm-hmm. True nature's challenge, I like that.
All right, should we end it there?
And scene.
And great.
See?
How did it feel, Bianca?
This was awkward. I didn't think so much.
Really?
Yeah. Well, just to just to jump in on a text, but
Yeah.
I think no, I don't know how, but I taught the students something.
This is complicated. I can't believe you tried this. This is
That's
like,
what I
this is-
actually,
this
I
is
read the
college
first line
level.
and I was like, yeah, well, all of the old, the doth ought.
Yeah.
The vocab, the syntax. This is.
Yeah.
I had to read this twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is super confusing.
You should show more annotations.
Yeah,
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 so I
we'll
can-
take pictures of those.
What does this mean? What annotations, like?
So is this what you